Closing the books is a manual, error-prone, and time-consuming process. In fact, 82% of accountants find the month-end close to be a negative experience. 78% report having to reopen the books, and 3 out of 4 say they're not confident in their close. Meanwhile, management wants numbers faster than ever, and investor scrutiny on financial reports has only increased. There has to be a better way than email, Excel checklists, and endless status update meetings. Flowcast was built by accountants for accountants to help them close faster and more accurately. It provides a single place to manage the month-end close, aligning people, processes, and documents in one collaborative platform. The bottom line, teams relying on Flowcast on average close 3 days faster. Learn more at cloudaccountingpodcast.com/Flowcast. That's FLOQAST. Welcome to the Cloud Accounting Podcast. I'm Blake Oliver.
I'm Rachel Fisch.
I'm Byron Patrick.
I'm Liz Mason.
And Liz, you sound pretty good. We thought you were going to lose your voice.
Yeah, but I got it back a little bit.
That's good. Well, I think that's just a sign that AICPA Engage is going very well. Right?
Yeah, and I'm allergic to Las Vegas.
Okay. So. Well, here we are in Las...
The list grows.
Here we are in Las Vegas at AICPA Engage 2019. How is it going for all of you?
Pretty fantastic.
This is my first year. You went to a great session yesterday, Liz.
I did. So I actually am lucky enough to be one of the Leadership Academy alum. And every year they do a big reunion session and have a guest speaker come in. And this year was P-Link. So Gretchen Paisano and Alexis Robin came in and spoke to us about vulnerability and how to use that to actually help lead in organizations.
I've seen that session before. Gretchen's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, she's just phenomenal in the way that she approaches things and the thought processes that go in, the stories she's able to relate back and pull people out of their comfort zones.
That's awesome. You're not good at that at all, Liz.
I'm pretty good at pushing people's boundaries. But,
Well, speaking of pushing boundaries, that's a terrible transition, actually. Because
anticipation, I'm terrified.
yeah, like, what does that mean?
I'm going to push your boundaries. I'm going to ask you guys a tough question here. Okay. So we're here at AICPA Engage. This is a conference for CPAs, right? Members of the
American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. I got you.
I get confused because there's also the
Association of International Certified Professional Accountants.
Yes. So like that just screws me up. So
they have the same logo, by the way.
Yeah, right. It's very confusing. Jeff Drew from the Journal of Accountancy posed a question to me that I thought was great that I'd love to pose to you, which is, what do you think the top threats facing the accounting profession are?
The accounting profession in total or the CPA designation?
Well, that's an interesting question because I would say for something to be a profession, the license is a big part of that. And we consider accounting to be a profession, such as, the way we have a legal profession, medical profession, right, because of those licenses. So to me, they're kind of wrapped up together. I mean, could we even have an accounting profession if we didn't have certifications and licenses?
We absolutely could.
Yeah. That's what's starting to happen, right?
It is.
Yeah. I mean, I was a bookkeeper and ran a practice doing a lot of what accounting firms here are doing in the CAS world, in the client accounting services world. And I only went back and got my CPA later. So I'm curious to know, is that, is the CPA staying relevant? Is it fading? Is it losing relevance? Is there competition from outsiders? Like Byron, I want to know how you feel because you have a tattoo of your CPA on your arm.
Minor vested interest in preserving the value of the CPA. Yeah, it's interesting, right? I think it's very much still relevant. Will the future, that relevance exist? I don't know. I think the general public still looks to and trusts CPAs very much so, and it's a recognized credential. I do think there is outside market, CMA and such, that I believe could be presenting a relevant challenge to the designation and the license, which we've talked about the challenges. The license, I think, is actually almost making it difficult to actually maintain the CPA for especially organizations that aren't a traditional audit and tax shop.
Right. If I'm not doing audit, why would I go to the trouble of being a CPA firm?
Right.
And Liz, are you a CPA firm?
Yeah, so High Rock is a registered CPA firm. So when we started in Arizona, there was a law that said if you are doing any kind of accounting services, even if it was only bookkeeping, if you have your CPA designation and own it, you had to register with the Board of Accountancy. So that was an interesting law. So we registered with the Board of Accountancy. Now they've since changed the law in Arizona. So they changed the law to say you don't have to register as a CPA firm, but if you don't, you cannot use the CPA designation.
So you cannot say on your business card that you are a CPA?
Not in conjunction with the name of my firm.
Okay. They have to be on separate cards.
Yes.
Got it.
At least that's the interpretation the Board of Accountancy is giving me.
Interesting.
So you can't say like Mason CPA and not be a registered CPA firm, which makes sense. Like that's a good, rule. But as a partner in that firm, I can't purport to be a CPA or provide CPA services. So if I write a proposal and say, as a certified public accountant, I will provide these services, I can't say that in conjunction with a proposal from High Rock if it wasn't registered.
So I'm not a CPA.
You are certified though.
I'm a certified professional bookkeeper through Canada's IPBC program. But CPA Canada is also really different as well. So here where there's, the CPA and CGMA and CMA and all of those things, in Canada there is now only one. It's CPA and it's managed by CPA Canada. So then you have industry accountants combined with practicing accountants of all scales and everything like that. It does seem to be maybe a little less restrictive than like what you're mentioning, Liz, but I feel like I need to tread really carefully. The challenge though actually was that I had actually got my degree waiver, was accepted into the accelerated program right as this merger was happening between all the designations, and I was adopted into an 18-month program, so basically 4 years of education in 18 months. And in November, before the program started in January, they said, oh, by the way, we don't have that 18-month program anymore. You have to do it in 9 months. And there was it was already going to be a huge stretch. And so it was actually the merging of the designations that is why I am not a CPA right now.
Interesting.
It just didn't make any sense anymore. I'm sitting there going, okay, I don't want to be a tax firm. Yeah. I don't want to be an audit firm. I just want to be doing these controllership services. So can I actually be doing those things and not be a CPA? Absolutely. So that was my route.
I think the one of the big differences there, right, is it's a federal designation, right?
Yes. So it basically has the state society, so provincially. So it's a federal designation that is rolled out provincially.
So, but are the rules different?
Only slightly.
Only slightly, as opposed to 51 flavors of the United States.
Yes. So it's a little different.
Just to put things in perspective, for us to change the CPA exam is impossible because so many states have written it into the law that there are these sections in the exam and that's how you become a CPA. That's one of the big challenges. People have proposed, and I think it would be a great idea, is to have some different sections and be able to choose. Maybe I don't need to take audit and I could take a technology-oriented section instead, but we can't do that because we have to have these 4 sections. It's almost like we didn't think ahead when we wrote all these laws.
How dare you suggest?
It is interesting. And it's definitely interesting to see the evolution of the different states and the laws that are happening because we do need something to bring it all together and to actually make this a profession, a designatable one, instead of having people try to undercut the rules, right?
Yeah.
And so states like Arizona passed rules like that because they had a lot of firms that didn't register. And they didn't want to prosecute all of them, right? When there's no need and they're not signing any audit reports, why do you need to register? Right. So there are many states following or, did it before, but there are some like Texas, which is still super strict.
Yeah, can't even call yourself an accountant in Texas if you're not a CPA. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to have the last names of your partners in the name of the firm. And there are very strict rules about who can invest and the advertising that they can do as well.
So I was at an event just a couple weeks ago, actually, with Mark Koziel, who's the EVP of Firm Services for AICPA. It wasn't at this event. It was a couple weeks ago. But what he was saying was that over the last 8 years, CPA firm hires have increased 4%, but non-CPA firm hires have increased over 10%. So within firms, they're hiring more non-CPAs than CPAs, or at least at a faster rate. So then when you look at who they're hiring, well, it's these data analysts and technicians that's really enabling these firms to go to the cloud and to be more tech savvy. And Byron, you were mentioning like the cybersecurity elements and things like that. So we're seeing firms get more techy. And then we've also seen maybe a little bit of disruption where we've got tech trying to be accounting at the complete disregard for these CPA rules, and then trying to sell it to accountants or trying to leverage accountants to do that. So I feel like we've got this really big imbalance right now happening. But I don't know what that means for CPAs.
Well, so
firms.
The interesting thing is, and I've seen Mark's presentation a million times on this, and it's to AICPA's credit, it is in support for their Pathways Commission and trying to move that needle of what does a future CPA look like. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I shouldn't even call it a needle. It's a massive boulder that they're trying to move. And now you are trying to move a society of a lot of the large base is traditional CPAs who have been in the profession for 50 years. I can't even conceive the notion of a data scientist becoming a CPA. So, the AICPA is trying to do something. What it will look like, who knows? But they are acknowledging, and that's exactly what Mark's point is. The makeup of a firm is changing, and the professionals in a firm is changing. So should we explore?
But then does that mean that data analysts and scientists, they need to become CPAs in order to work for the firm? Or is it just that saturation that you were talking about earlier, right? Yeah. Where there's a certain percentage allowable that in order to continue to call yourself a CPA firm, you are allowed to have a certain percentage of non-CPAs.
Well, and it's funny because there is the theory that maybe we should have them become CPAs, but on the other side, I don't think anybody's asked a data scientist if they have any desire of being a CPA. So,
what do you think the answer would be if they did? No, thanks.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I think their job prospects are too good at this point for them to want to do that. Yeah. Rachel, you mentioned the disregard of technology people.
That might be a great segue there, Blake.
Some of the regulations or stuff that CPAs might not do. There was a Canadian app that was in the news recently getting, sued by the SEC?
That's right.
How do we even do that?
How do we sue? How do we get sued?
Here's
how to get sued by Kik. So
the SEC is claiming Kik did an illegal public offering.
Well, essentially. So the SEC is suing messaging app Kik, which is a Canadian-born app, for raising $100 million through an allegedly illegal token sale in 2017 on the grounds that Kin, the digital token, should have been registered as a security. And Kik is saying, no, it's a currency. And there's a lot of kind of gray area over what is what.
It was only a matter of time. Yeah. They were waiting for the right case.
Absolutely. Yep. I mean, ICOs have been happening for the last 4 years.
Why are they going after this Canadian company? Like, are they just picking on them? Like, why did they choose them instead of all these other ones?
I think it's the magnitude of it, the size of it.
It was what? It was like
$100 million.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And within the ICO world, I think that's one of the larger ones. And plus for an established brand that, there's a million of these ICOs for people who want to build a frog aquarium or something. And nobody really cares about that.
It would not be newsworthy if they sued the frog aquarium.
I was a big fan of CryptoKitties. I don't know if any of you heard about that. The tradable digital kitty cats.
Yes.
I don't know what happened to that.
I don't know.
Are CryptoKitties?
Do you own any?
No, I do not.
Is that like the evolution of the Tamagotchi?
Yeah, or the Beanie Baby, right? It's the virtual Beanie Baby because they were limited.
Oh, okay.
You could breed them. I don't own any. I just know about it.
Okay.
You seem to be getting a little defensive.
Any of you purchase, own, have bought or sold cryptocurrency?
No.
Yeah, I have some.
Do you dabble in it?
Yeah. Mostly just to play. Just I wanted to get familiar with the exchanges. I wasn't going to make $1 bazillion. That was not my goal. But, to get involved in it, throw a little cash in there and play around. It's interesting. My $90, maybe 9 million one day.
Sure.
Right?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of big ups and downs, and it's always fun to play in a market, right? So it's effectively like investing in something that's completely unregulated for
now.
Yeah.
Until the SEC decides to regulate it.
But how are they going to regulate it,
That's
right?
the question.
There's no possible way to do that with the current technology. So,
hey, random thing I saw on Twitter that I'm curious to know. So Tom Maxwell from Practice Ignition, he asked on Twitter, do you text with your clients?
I saw that, yeah.
The responses were really interesting. Like some people are like, no, never. I would never do that. Some are like all the time. I'm curious to know, Liz, if you text with clients and how, and if you do that.
Yeah. So when I started High Rock, I gave everyone my cell phone number because I didn't have a business line yet, right? Like baby startup fine. And people would text me all the freaking time. And I started getting really bad anxiety anytime my phone buzzed because I thought it was a client asking for something that I was like, I couldn't handle it. So I ended up changing my phone number and refusing to give clients my cell phone number. So I have 4 clients that currently have my cell phone number and they are allowed to text me. Nobody else has given it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So, but my team members text with their clients all the time.
That was my next question.
Yeah. So,
so
totally
you don't have
fine,
a policy or anything?
No, there's no policy.
Okay.
It's just a personal preference. I like, separation and to be able to turn things off without turning off like my whole personal life, right? So if I turn my phone off, then I'm ignoring all my friends and family as well.
So that's interesting because they're texting with your clients. And what about that communication going back and forth? Like, wouldn't you like to be able to track it, see it, archive it? I mean, if you're a big firm, then you probably have to.
Right. So we actually turned on like the texting ability with our like cloud voice over IP software.
Oh, so that's what they use.
So they use that to text with their clients on their phone. So it's all tracked through that. It's like a messaging app, but the client looks like just a normal text message.
Oh, and what are you using for that?
Ring Central.
Ring Central?
Not my favorite, but it's the cheapest.
All right.
I did see Tom's tweet, and then the next half of it, because I think that context is important as well. So the next half of it was my dentist just texted me to book my next appointment, and I responded and booked immediately, found it effective, would need to be cautious about overstepping. My immediate assumption was that it was bots, was that wasn't somebody actually sitting and texting. And if you can do kind of those autoresponders, that's totally different. If I'm giving my cell phone number to a bunch of people, that's where I totally get your anxiety.
And I've had CPA firms ask me how I get dental reminders. Like why can't I send a tax appointment reminder via text? So there's solutions like Acuity scheduling where it'll integrate, capture, and send those reminders. It's super easy to do.
Right, but you can't have the conversation.
It's not a dialogue tool.
So with those tools,
one way.
it's a one way, and then you can confirm.
That's right.
You can say yes or no, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I had an experience like this. I was looking at apartments, and I was trying to book an appointment. So I called the leasing office. They didn't answer, but the voice message said, if you'd like us to text you, press 1, and we'll coordinate it that way. And I did, and I have no idea if this was an AI or a person or a call center, probably a mix, texted me back, and then I was able to book that whole appointment via a text message exchange, which was way better than trying to get somebody to call me back. Yep. And I was thinking, like, everybody should have this. It would be fantastic.
And I also, when I heard that story the first time, I also just thought, it's bots. Like, who would be sitting there, like, doing a one-on-one thing? Right. I don't know.
Well, there's services you can pay for now where
that
like
do that?
It's like the modern version of the answering service, right?
Yep, definitely. And so, I mean, I know everyone at this table travels a lot to conferences. Like what I've noticed this year in particular is many of the little boutique hotels will send you a text message when you get there and say, what can I do to help you?
Yes.
And so I asked at one of them, I'm like, what technology are you guys using? So they use a system that links into their hotel technology. So they sit at their computer and respond to the messages. And so it actually is live people at the front desk, and it, saves them the hazard of 25 phone calls coming in at the same time when, people can just text and request.
I saw somebody on Twitter the other day actually responded and requested a picture of Steph Curry to be on the reception desk when they checked in. And they made it happen.
That's weird.
A little random. But
was that you?
No, not at all. Not at all.
No, because you'd be requesting a picture of Barry Melanson.
How'd you know?
A signed headshot.
Only signed. Actually, my State Farm agent, I don't know what they use. I haven't asked her. Frankly, I don't think she'd know. But the number I have for her, which to my knowledge is her cell phone, her entire office uses to text me. Like, hey, I need your kids' report cards for grades. And, I respond, and then they'll respond right in there. It's so convenient.
Well, bots came up. So let's talk about bots. Here's another question that Jeff from the Journal of Accountancy asked me that I'd love to ask you. What do you see as the 2 to 4 best opportunities for CPAs as robots take over lower level tasks? And Byron, I'm going to toss that one to you first.
Why?
You're with this company now called what is
BotKeeper.
it? BotKeeper.
BotKeeper.
Oh, what is that?
Hey, it's any listener of the show, I am sure, is well aware. So our solution is automating those lower level tasks, and through various platforms of technology and software. And I heard a really great term recently. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Callum Chase, but he's a futurist, talks about the singularity and some really interesting, thought-provoking stuff. And he shared an article recently where he said the future workforce needs to be upskilled. And I hadn't heard that term, upskilled.
Upskilled.
Yeah, and I think it's so great. So if we can take these low-level, highly labor-intensive but low-skilled tasks, automate them so we can upskill our staff, I think it's great. Yes, absolutely. It means a smaller workforce to accomplish more work.
So that's the question. What are we going to do, though? Is it advisory? Sorry. I'm really sorry.
I was just going to say, what's the right answer to every question at this conference? Advisory.
Yeah, so
disruption.
That makes me so angry, though, because people throw this word out, advisory, as if it's something new. Like, this is not a new concept. This is something that accountants have been doing since forever.
Beginning of time.
Yeah. I mean, if you're an intelligent human looking at numbers, you identify trends, you talk about things that are happening, you help your clients figure out where their expense sucks are and how to get their receivables faster. All of these advisory basic services that's not a new concept. And so the way that it's being repackaged and distributed as a, hey guys, like level up to advisory is BS.
Well, and the irony is for many years, it was about CPA firms getting away from the accounting and bookkeeping, like get rid of it. Right. And now save your firm. Do client accounting services.
And the fun part about that is because of technology.
Yeah.
Because at the time, those services were not profitable to be doing, at that high level.
Yes.
Seeing and coding.
It was way too much manual labor. But now we actually have tools, and some companies do robot stuff that help make that happen and make the timeline so much more feasible.
Yeah.
It's efficient to do it.
That's right.
Yeah. You can't adopt a CAS practice without a level of automation. And so people who are like, I'm going to start to do bookkeeping, let's have all paper and all desktop. It's like, okay, I can't even help you. Like, that's not what this is about. It has to 100% be about technology and automation, so that we can get to the good stuff. Like, that's just the getting stuff done.
That's the baseline.
I'm trying to be careful so you don't have to bleep me. Like, that's just the getting stuff done.
I've got it ready.
So that
He's already downloaded the sound block.
So I was in a session yesterday, and they were talking about basically, so it's a lot of hard work to get, even your bookkeeping piece transformed into the the client accounting service model. But that foundation absolutely has to be laid before you can even start approaching the virtual CFO services. And CPAs, I feel like, just want to jump directly to the virtual CFO without effectively creating this strong foundation to actually build that piece of the business off of. And they were saying that basically it's so hard to do the first part that most CPAs actually quit before they ever get to delivering these virtual CFO services. And then they're like, oh, CAS doesn't work. It's broken. It's not profitable, blah, blah, blah. And then, it's kind of this
so I have
spinning
a
our
solution
wheels
for
thing.
that.
What's that?
So actually, HiRock last year developed a model called our Nucleus model, where we do all the back office for them, and they could just do virtual CFO. That's it.
So you do the back office for other firms?
We do the back office for other CFOs. So
All up to controller.
Yeah,
type
so
level
we'll do
stuff.
everything up to controller for them, and then, they take it from there.
That's
do
right.
The CFO
Flip the
services.
switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's
Well, and that's why companies like BotKeeper exist too, right?
Well, that's right. And it's kind of interesting because we've had a lot of interest here at Engage, and the number of conversations I've had where people say, but you can't work with QuickBooks Desktop? Well, if this is a path you're going to go on, it's about time we consider some cloud solutions.
Oh my God, you guys, did you know you can still buy 12-column paper?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That's a staple. What? Yeah.
How
that
is
blew
this
my
possible?
mind the other month when I found this.
So one of my coworkers from Armanino, I was catching up with her, and she's now in tax, and she received the closing journal entries for a client from the previous accountant. They were taking over the book of business, right? Or they were taking over the return, and I think they were like in New York or something, and they said, "Oh, it's not digital. We'll have to send it to you." She's like, "Okay," and it comes in a giant envelope. It is that big ledger paper, and that's all the year-end entries are on paper. And this was for a return like 2 years ago.
Wow.
I know a CPA who acquired a firm. Didn't do much due diligence apparently because after the acquisition, she requested that they provide an employee list. Mm-hmm. So it came on a scanned piece of 10-column ledger paper, and she said, "Can you put that in Excel for me?" And they said, "We don't have Excel." This is a CPA firm.
Oh my God. And I get frustrated when the Journal of Accountancy is publishing, here's the 5 tips to the mastering Excel.
Yeah.
I'm going to write an article of how to move away from 12-column ledger paper to Excel.
I like
Please,
that.
12 steps.
The
12
12-step
steps to
program.
give up
Let's
your
do a
12-column.
webinar
Yeah.
on
Nobody
CPA
will
Academy.
Academy.
attend that
Ledger to
webinar.
Excel.
Yeah.
You need to actually do it in print form and then mail it to them. A self-study.
We'll do a DVD. Maybe DVD?
Maybe
No,
fax.
VHS?
Yeah, we'll fax
Can
it
we
to them.
fax the presentation?
Yeah, we can totally fax the presentation.
I like that.
But this is where I think we still have a lot of work to do. We may be in a bit of a bubble as kind of the early adopters and whatever, but there are so many laggards that it's just so this honestly is why I think that QuickBooks Live, why BotKeeper, why all of these, what are some of there's some other ones as well. Why they're going to be successful is because there are still so many businesses that run on that. There are still so many businesses that only use Excel. There's still so many of those.
Right.
There's still a lot of opportunity for everybody.
I saw a statistic the other day. In the United States, there's 30 million small businesses. 10% of them are using cloud accounting technology. Only 10%.
I believe it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's crazy.
It's a crazy number.
That's
It is.
27 million companies that are not. They're using desktop products, server-based products, Excel, 12-column paper, nothing.
Yeah.
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
It's
a huge opportunity, though.
It absolutely is, and I won't make up the statistic, but the MAP
You're
survey.
welcome to if you like.
So
Fact check you.
The MAP survey, which is done by PCPS every year, and CPA FMA, surveys small firms and larger firms on what are they doing, what are they adopting, what are their services, what are their challenges, and one of the questions is still are you paperless? And how many monitors do you have on your desk? 70% of firms may be paperless, which 30% of firms is kind of a ton of firms. I mean,
it's a lot.
That seems high. I mean, I know these are stats Byron style, but 70% seems really...
Well, 70% are paperless, so 30%
Yeah, but
are
70...
not.
But paperless includes server-based programs as well.
server.
It is not a cloud statistic.
Oh, right.
It includes other programs.
That's right. That it's not even cloud.
Correct.
Like,
Yeah.
It's really interesting. So I was actually reading that MAP survey last week, 2 weeks ago. I was writing a white paper for Maryland Society of CPAs about how to scale a practice through efficiency and innovation, and talking about the statistics and those, like, what are the current problems? And so I pulled a lot of statistics from the MAP survey, which was really interesting to look at how bad it is, and the areas of opportunity. So what people are currently doing and how we can fix it.
So when are we going to see that blog post?
So it's a white paper, and I think it's publishing next month.
Awesome.
I'll let you know.
Looking forward to it. Well, I think Rachel's got to go to a meeting, and I'm sure you two have plenty to do. So
We have absolutely no lives.
Or I could just leave and you guys
Rachel's
keep
the
talking.
only
It's
cool
fine.
person on this.
we could try to set a record.
Nobody wants to meet with us.
The longest cloud accounting episode.
So before we go, let's go around the circle here. Rachel, where can people connect with you online?
Sure. So I'm on Twitter at FishBooks.
And how about you, Byron?
Twitter, Byron _CPA, I think.
You should know this.
Yeah, I totally should. I think it's Byron _CPA.
Are you not on Twitter all that much? You can choose a different social.
I don't tweet at myself. That's the problem.
It's like not knowing your own phone number, right?
That's true. How about you, Liz?
You can find me on Twitter at Lizzie Norma.
And I am, as always, at Blake T. Oliver. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining me.
Thank
and
you.
Hope to see you again soon.
Yes, you too.
Absolutely.